Right. Hello, anybody watching this, whether it's live or in the future. If you are watching it live, I am getting started a little earlier than normal. Probably, I think. I don't know. I've still not quite managed to nail down a Saturday afternoon streaming schedule. But I know I have some plans this evening that also mean getting a little more getting some stuff done and getting moving and whatnot. Not so we're gonna start a little earlier. Uh, guess some quick, as per usual. Here's my quick thoughts on just to immediately date this in a specific time and place. So I guess we're gonna kind of start with the bad-ish and move into the more positive stuff because why not? Okay, it looks the situation. Well, actually, you know what? Let's start with something else. So last week I did not stream because I was instead running a game of Draw Steel for some friends of mine. I will be running that same thing at MomoCon in a little over a month in May. So that's going to be cool. Cool. Actually, I pulled it up specifically. So, okay, there we go. Actually, let me see. What is it? Friends over at the Dungeon Mayhem Syndicate. Let me see if I can do. MAY. Can I do that? No? Alright, well, let me see. Uh, let me see. Let me post a link to them, I think. A slash. Can I do that? Hey, cool. Let me just make sure that actually works. Is it the right one? Okay, so okay, I that's right. Okay, so they're not at as yeah. Oh cool, they are hosting me. That's neat. Sorry, here's the link. Anyway. Wait, did I? Okay. Anyway. Wait, here's me running let's see, here's the stream of me running Draw Steel, specifically the Road to Broadhurst scenario for them. It is like 4 hours long, so be aware. And you know, if you don't want spoilers for that particular adventure, I don't know. Maybe don't watch it. I guess I don't know. Either way, wait. That's what I was doing last week. Next week I'm going to be LARPing, so again I will not be streaming then. So instead, I'm gonna be doing what I do. Well, and uh, yeah, and last time I did try to set up a host of them streaming. I had some difficulty with it because my laptop wasn't quite cooperating. So that's unfortunate. I do think we're gonna try and stream again, so maybe I'll be able to set it up then. Anyway, what else? Yes. I don't know. Current event. Current events. Okay, so the The whole situation with Iran is kind of infuriating if you're somewhat aware of history, because it's like I see this as like, okay, this was incredibly dumb. This was a huge waste of time. What we have now, the deal we maybe have currently, and we'll see how it works out. I don't know. I am hoping to stop this nonsense from going forward because, yeah, nobody in the vast majority of people in the U.S. don't want to be doing this. But I do think it's interesting that the deal that was supposedly worked out is like, or that seemed to initially be worked out, and that Trump was cheering on and saying, "Hey, look how great! Look at this great deal I made!" Ha ha ha! It's like, okay, this is like so much worse than the deal from like 2015 that you tore up because you said it was a bad deal. It's like there's like, in that deal it's like, okay, the Strait of Hormuz was open. People could just go through that strait, no problem. uh Iran was not allowed to develop the enriched uranium for a nuclear weapons program, and Iran would have to cooperate with UN international inspectors to make sure that they are not enriching uranium to develop a nuclear weapon. The current deal that we seem to have sort of worked out includes none of that. It's okay. The strait remains closed, and Iran can charge millions of dollar fees for any ship coming through, plus extra for every barrel of oil. They get to develop their nuclear weapons program, and also other stuff like, stop Israel has to stop doing shit, bombing Lebanon and whatnot, which I am in favor of, because Israel has Israel has issues that really need to be worked out and are very annoying. And it's like all of this, so much of this stuff would not be an issue if Israel would learn to play nice with their neighbors instead of doing all this other shit, but they don't want to. Oh well. But in positive news, good, fun, exciting news, I believe last night, the Artemis 2 module made splashdown, and so, hey, wow, we've once again sent people around the moon at the very least, which is, an important step for, because I saw people like this past week some people going like, if we've already been to the moon, why are we doing this? Why aren't we just flying back? And it's like, well, because the stuff we haven't gone to the moon in 50 years, and all the tech, all this new technology we're using it's new, and we haven't necessarily tested it, and we're not sure if it's going to work or not. So it'd be really good to make sure it works before we try to send people to land on the moon. Because, like, I don't know if any of y'all saw Apollo 13, but if something goes wrong, we can't send a rescue crew to fix it. It's okay. The people on the module, if something goes wrong, they either have to fix it or they die. And that's it. So yeah, we need to make sure that all this stuff works and it does what it's supposed to before we try to send people to the moon, where it is, yeah, the moon, not exactly the most hospitable of places to be. But anyway, they're back. I don't know if, I assume they're fine. I assume everything seemed to have worked out, and it's just it's nice to have one of these moments of, oh, good things can happen. We can do stuff. We can do these really cool, exciting things, and I'm very excited to see the next Artemis mission, the next few Artemis missions. I think Artemis 5 is supposed to be the one that actually goes to the moon. I believe Artemis 3 is supposed to be testing some other, it's more testing, but within the next few years, we should be returning to the moon, which is awesome. Anyway, this week, and not next week, but the week after, I tried to decide what I wanted to look at for this week, and well, initially I was like, okay, well, I could do like the One Ring role-playing game or some other stuff, and then Foundry released version 14 of their software, which unfortunately kind of broke most of my games. So like, I can't show most of this stuff off, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to show any of it off, because some of these systems, it took them a long time to update it to work with version 13 of the software. So it's just it's frustrating and annoying. So, but and I thought, okay, well, maybe I could take a look at some of this other stuff and yada, or some of these other games that I'm not necessarily gonna be able to show off, but it's fun to look at. And then I thought, okay, you know what? Let's do this other game. So I'm going to be taking a look at the 13th Age 2nd Edition, which I believe came out last year. They did a Kickstarter for it a while ago, 2 years ago or so. I'm not quite sure. But sorry, brain fart. I did on my website, which right there, sorry, didn't even do the things right. Librarian Writer Geek, Twitch and YouTube, follow, subscribe when I do the stuff. Blue Sky, my website. Okay. Anyway, all of that stuff. Way back during the OGL, I think, might have been during when the original OGL debacle came out, or sometime at some point on my website, I did do a thing taking a look at the first edition of 13th Age, which was probably around 10 years old at the time, or maybe a little less than 10 years, I guess. But anyway, today I'm going to be taking a look at, going to show off a little bit of the second edition, and depending on how things go, I might be able to show it in action. I don't know. We'll see. But let's get to it. Right. And since I'm not streaming anything, I'm not doing a game, I figured let's get some music going. I don't know. I'm gonna turn up the music a little bit. Maybe you can hear that. Hopefully you can hear that. All right. Mostly I hope it's not louder than me, which is the important part. I'm gonna actually turn it up a little bit so I can actually hear the music. Anyway. All right. So, 13th Age. So, one of the things, first off, is they did decide to break it into two books as opposed to one. The first edition was just one big book. This is two separate books. It's the Heroes Handbook, and I think it's the Game Master's Handbook. Is that? I don't know. Anyway, art on the cover, very nice. Nice. I know I'm not going to get into some of the people involved. Okay, that's not great. Okay. 13th Age does kind of have its own default setting, but you don't necessarily have to use that, obviously. But it does the setting, the Dragon Empire, it does kind of, well, I guess actually let's do a little background. So the original 13th Age, I think it released, actually, let me see. Oh my gosh. Okay, 13th Age. Okay, the original 13th Age came out in 2013. So that was a little, I want to say that was shortly before the release of 5th edition, but it was definitely after a point where Wizards of the Coast said, okay, we're no longer going to be publishing 4th edition content. And the way I've pitched 13th Age to people is like, this is to 4th edition D&D what 1st edition Pathfinder was to 3.5. It's very much okay, well, we're gonna take this, or at least some of it, and publish our own version of it using some of the same rules and some of the other stuff, but yeah. Anyway, and much like with 4th edition, we do have one of the things I really liked about 4th edition is like, okay, we do have a setting, or at least a default setting, and there's, we have a map. There's a lot of places on this map. There's a lot of things and noted, but there's also a lot of stuff that just isn't explained. And I know some of this stuff is in the GM's book, but I think there's definitely locations that I'm reasonably sure aren't that well developed, that might not be all that well explained. Like, I don't think the Gray Towers are explained at all, or at least I don't feel like I've ever seen anything. I could probably pull it up and check, but but again, there's all these locations and stuff. It's like, okay, what does it mean? What does that do? What's that about? What's up with it? This. We'll get into who all of these people are in a bit. But all right. So yeah, obviously table of contents, and we get into the icons. I'm glad they kind of get into that early, but there is. I kind of like that they include that, like, the first actual chapter is an example of play. We'll get to that, and we'll get, all the stuff, going through the experience you're going to get, not just of creating a character, but also of playing and doing all this other stuff. I think that's at least that's kind of cool. And then obviously, we have the actual details about, okay, here's how you make a character. Here's the different types of kin. Again, kind of like they use the term kin again. The classes available in this game, there are some that I were, well, again, this is the base game, so obviously some of the stuff isn't going to be. The previous edition, they did release a second book that contained a bunch of other player classes. Those have not been included. I kind of wish they'd included some of them, but I understand why they didn't. So obviously, classes, all the other stuff. All the other stuff for creating a character is in a single chapter. Get a whole chapter detailing the icons and what their deal is, and providing more interesting stuff, more stuff about them, which I appreciate. Obviously, and then finally, combat rules, how this stuff works, etc., etc., and then appendices. Okay, cool. I kind of skip. I don't know if they meant fantasy game based on. Okay. See, I think, I was looking at this stuff this week and was like, okay, F20, is that the term you want? Is that, don't you mean like D20? Because those are next to each other, but okay. Alright. And, okay, so. One of the first, there's a number of things that really appealed to me starting off looking into 13th Age. So I think the first one kind of is the icons. So what I think kind of makes the icons are okay, so I guess, deities and stuff are deities and pantheon and whatnot. All that kind of stuff is left actually very vague in the default setting. I guess if you wanted to create your own, that'd be fine. But as is, again, this sort of thing is like whatever you want. You want to use gods from this. You want to use the gods from like the Forgotten Realms and or Greyhawk and or Greek mythology or something or this book series or whatever. You want to use those, you can totally use whatever deities you want. They can all fit in here. We're not going to restrict that. The gods aren't terribly important for the most part. But what are important are the icons. And the icons are kind of the movers and shakers of the world. And in the first edition of the game, there were 13 of them. Because 13th Age, that kind of clicks. In this edition, they've removed one and dropped it down to 12. And I think that's kind of done with some interesting implications. But the icons are the Archmage, the Crusader, the Diabolist, the Dwarf King, the Elf Queen, the Emperor, the Great Gold Worm, the High Druid, the Lich King, the Priestess, the Prince of Shadows, and the Three. Now, if you've played D&D, some of these are fairly obvious analogs of gods or entities from D&D. Like the Great Gold Worm is Bahamut? Bahamut from, I think it's the Greyhawk / General. He's the god of the good dragons. So the Three is kind of the reverse. Especially with the multi-headed, it's kind of supposed to be Tiamat. That is the evil chromatic dragon. The Lich King is very much Vecna. Trust me, when you see the art of this character, you'll get it. The Archmage is I guess you could say the Archmage is kind of any big, powerful, named wizard. If you want to go that route. You know. But, obviously, again, these are just big, powerful individuals with whole... But the point is that these are powerful and influential individuals with whole organizations devoted to serving them and advancing their aims. Some of them more explicitly than others. And your character, and all the player characters by default, almost by definition, are connected to them in some way. I'll get to that in a minute. And here we get to the first bit of really new artwork or revised artwork. This is which I kind of appreciate. They updated this. Again, this is the priestess, because you can see the thing. I like that I really like this piece. I think it's very cool. I didn't dislike the original version, but I do. I don't know. I like that it is. I was gonna say they made some of the artwork a little more ethnically diverse, let's say, than it was previously. So that's cool. Obviously, here we again have example of play and how to do that. Going through the whole thing of someone creating a character and how that works, and we'll probably be going through that if. This will become relevant if/when we get around to doing that ourselves. Okay, and again, we come to another icon artwork. This is a little more different from the original version, the High Druid. In the original... the High Druid was more like kneeling down, facing out toward the viewer. I do kind of like this. I don't know if Campaign 1 of Critical Role was an influence in the decision to go, okay, let's give the High Druid red hair and antlers or not, but I think it's a very cool thing regardless, because, you know, Druid maybe tied in more with nature and whatnot. That's very cool. Okay. And now I have the chapter of literal, okay, here's what you do when you make a character. Okay. You know, like, alright, you get your stats, you decide what your kin is, you pick a class, you get your one unique thing, which is something that all the player characters have. It's whatever, something that makes your character special. Examples like the only halfling to escape the Diabolus Circus of Hell, or a 3-time runner-up in the Dwarven Games, or reincarnation of an ancient god. You know, it's there's a lot of ideas here and advice later on that will come up. Anyway, I like that this. Another little thing that I really think is cool, that I think is very cool in this game, is that instead of having like specific skills, they let you they use backgrounds, which is like, okay, what did you do before becoming an adventurer? What did you do then? And how can you use that stuff you learned then to do stuff now? It's a lot more flexible, and I really really appreciate that. You get a feat you do get a feat every level. Feats in this game work a little differently than in, other games like D&D, like Pathfinder, any of that stuff. Because this is more just, these are more specifically, this is going to make one thing you do better or cooler. And you do get one of these every level, but the game maxes out at 10th level, so yeah. And then, gear. Gear is not really that important in this game, which, again, is a very cool thing I like, because, yeah, I know there's some people who maybe like the prospect of managing, it is... Managing gear and tracking gear and doing all that stuff is not conducive to the kind of big, heroic fantasy that this game intends to deliver on. It is not the kind of thing badass heroes are overly worried about. It is not, if you want to be big badass hero, worrying about, okay, well, gee, should I switch? Oh, well, this weapon does this much damage, but this weapon does a different type of damage. That's not relevant. Not important. Who cares? Alright. Obviously, okay, abilities. If you played D&D, if you played Pathfinder, you understand what all these abilities are. They're all exactly the same. I do like that the sort of default array mins at the lowest option is 10. 10 goes up to 17 as opposed to some other games. I understand, I fully understand that, giving players one kind of bad stat in the standard array so they're not good at everything. But again, we're playing in this game. The idea is that, by simple virtue of being a player character, you are automatically a cut above everybody else. So, yeah. In first edition, they did kind of restrict they did give you +2s. You get one from your race, ancestry, kin, what have you, and you get to pick, you get one of 2 options from that, and you'd get one, unless you're human, in which case it was okay, any one. And then from your class, you'd get to pick from 2 options, because that's just sort of go okay, if you are this, you should obviously be good at these, have these abilities be higher than average, I guess. I don't know. Something like that. Anyway. They've completely done away with that for... Alright. They have done away with that in second edition for good or ill. And just said, okay, you get +2 to any 2 ability scores. Wherever you want to put them. So you can either max, put those in your 2 highest ability scores, which gives you 2 really good scores and some pretty decent scores. 2 really good ones, 2 decent ones. 2 really good scores, a decent one. Score, 2 okay scores, and 1 kind of meh. Or you could do the kind of good at everything. Well, or you could put those +2s into your 15 and 14, and then you get three pretty decent scores. Again, that's the default array. The good at everything array kind of shifts the math around a bit, but still gives you some pretty good scores. Anyway, and again, modifiers work exactly the same as in any other game like this. And again, hey, here are the numbers you get if you go with any of the 3 standard arrays. Right. Okay. So here's where, the things start moving away from the standard of like Pathfinder and D&D, and doing okay. And this is probably the most obvious remnant of the game of 13th Age's 4th edition roots, which is anything you want to do. That means anytime, any attack, okay, any kind of attack, whatever it is, you're rolling a d20. You're rolling a d20, and you need to beat one of 3 defenses. That includes if you're doing that's any kind of attack. And the 3, and each of them is, it is armor class, physical defense, and mental defense. So, and each of these is based on, I think it is, your class will give you a base score, and then you'll add your modifier from like the middle of one of 3 ability scores. So, this kind of helps to ensure that this kind of helps to ensure that there's no, you can have like one kind of dump stat, but just because you have a really high dex doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna have a really high armor class and or physical defense. So you have this is your incentive to keep your ability scores kind of balanced, because all the defenses because again, it is the middle of the 3, not the highest. So again, armor class, tough, quick, and alert. Blah, 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 physical defense. Armor class interestingly goes con, dex, and whiz, which is an interesting combination. Physical defense is obviously based on your physical abilities scores. Mental defense is based on your mental ability scores, and you always add your level to all this. Honestly, you add your level to a whole bunch of things, which is kind of nice. Initiative bonus, is just straight up dex. Healing, I think this was probably the first time, 13th Age was one of the first, the first time that I came across, the recovery dice. It might have been in I think it might have, no, this is another thing from 4th edition where it's like, okay, right, that kind of got turned into hit dice. The idea being, okay, you have a resource, every player character has a resource that they can use to heal themselves. But 13th Age is kind of different because you start out with a lot more you have a lot more hit points to start with, so you will be rolling your level times your recovery dice. Roll a number of recovery dice equal to your level and add your con modifier. So, add fit, and you'll increase your con modifier at fit levels 5 and 8, and so on. Attacks and powers. You have your there's a basic. Everybody gets like basic attacks, and but generally you're going to want to use whatever powers you might have, because powers are just kind of automatically better. Anyway, another piece of art. This is the Elf Queen. This looks a lot more like the one from the first edition, but it is a little more ethereal. It's a little more glowy and mystical and whatnot, and I like that. Okay. So obviously, different types, different kin. Again, these are just the basic ones in this game. In this book, they released a whole bunch of other ones in subsequent books for first edition, though some of those will probably be coming back in later books. Not sure. But every kin in first edition had a specific kin power, and those are obviously still here, but they apparently decided to add some extra options instead. So first edition humans got quick to fight, which was basically, you get advantage on initiative rolls, but now they potentially get instead push it or resourceful. Let me see. I also believe humans in first edition got a second feat at first level. You get a bonus feat of the highest tier you qualify for, which is kind of cool and interesting. Push it. Escalation die is put 2 or higher. We'll potentially get to the escalation die later. That's a combat thing. Hit, but don't crit the target with an attack. You can choose to try and push it as a free action. Your attack has no effect on the target until you take a second attack. Make a second attack roll against the target with the same attack bonus. The second, you deal double damage on the hit. If you crit, you deal triple damage. Okay. If you miss with the second attack, the original attack deals only half damage against the target, and second. Okay. That's for those people who really enjoy the option of taking risks. Dwarves, again, let me see. Dwarves' original kin power was that's your best shot, which was a kind of reaction and heal, but now we get other ones, which elves, we obviously have 3 different types of elves. We have the high elves. They have first edition had it was dark elves or drow or whatever, but I guess they decided, okay, we're gonna pull away. They did over time pull away from the associations of dark elves from other D20 fantasy games. Like, okay, they still look the same, but maybe they're not just kind of inherently so bad. So I guess to encourage that, we call them the silver folk, or silver elves. Yeah. they're kind of mixed, I guess, is what they're sort of going for. They still have the cruel kin power, and yeah, Thor's heroes have something of High Elves magic and Wood Elves grace. It wouldn't surprise us if heroes' unique or background tell stories silver all with kin power, kin of a different shirt. Alright. Okay. And I've seen Wood Elves. Yeah, I think Elven Grace. Yeah. Was their original one, but now I get extra stuff. Gnomes. Gnomes are odd and different and straight. Ancient. Wait a second. All gnome heroes can take the following adventure to your feet. Needs. Animal talker. Okay, that's neat. I was not aware of that. Okay. Half elves. That's. Okay, I do kind of like that sometimes, at least in the default setting, half-elves just kind of exist. Like, both their parents are human or both their parents are elves, but, like, sometimes it happens. Sometimes they just exist. Okay. And, you know, halflings. Okay, sure. Halflings are halflings. They're very cool. Now this is an interesting one. So, Trollkin. Yeah. These are this edition's take on what were half-orcs in the original, in first edition. So, but apparently they decided, okay, we're gonna maybe... Yeah, default Trollkin is designed to rehabilitate the half-orc character type with traditionally an assorted origin. Yeah. So, you know, we're pulling away from the various associations that half-orcs might have, or at least this is kind of like how other games have, some other games have just decided, okay, you know what, we're just going to make orc a character option, ancestry, what have you. I kind of wish I don't know if that would have been the better option or not. I'm not gonna judge. It certainly makes some certainly makes some differences. I do think it's interesting that they've decided to more explicitly tie Trollkin to the High Druid, because the High Druid is, at least in the default setting, kind of not necessarily evil, but also not necessarily on the side aligned with the Empire, with the Emperor, which is kind of the default good kingdom, I guess. But yeah. There's obviously some more interesting kin options as well. These were all also in the original rulebook. You got your dragon people, because why wouldn't you want to have dragon people? That's just cool. Got Forgeborn, which are you know. These are your mechanical, what have you. I guess they'd be kind of like Warforged in D&D, I guess, is the equivalent. How that works exactly is up to you, whether they're a machine or just if they're a construct or what have you. You obviously, they are intelligent, they can do stuff. Very cool piece of artwork of a Forgeborn. Yeah, very cool artwork here. So I think. Tieflings. Okay, so. Again, Tieflings, they were in the original game. I think this is interesting because I'm wondering if they're trying to go with like, okay, Tieflings just look weird. There's no kind of default look for a Tiefling, and I think that's kind of cool. Humanoid but visibly demonic, with exotic skin color, horns of one sort or another, usually a tail. Some people say current Diablos is a Tiefling. Most Tieflings say you gotta be kidding. She started as human. Don't blame us. Nice. And I think, yeah, this is supposed to be ASMR / Holy One, I assume. Which, yeah, interesting decision there. I mostly assume this because A, the art, and B, the kind of halo-looking thing above the head. Defenses until you're hit with an attack. That can do things as a halo for danger. Okay. Again, I'm certain this is the artwork, the new artwork for the Archmage, which I really love. But it does look. This is the one I think that looks probably the most different from the original artwork, and that's why I'm a little iffy about it. But either way, it is still very cool. Because I am kind of a sucker for the floating magic runes and stuff. Love that. All right. So, yeah, in again, first edition, they did include a list of like, okay, roughly going up, how difficult are these different classes to play? They kind of switch things up a bit. But that's okay. Okay, I think it's interesting that they've actually said that Bard might actually be the most complex random options because each of its talents supply effects that trigger when hitting with an attack or when an enemy misses, along with healing magic requires the Bard to pay attention to what's happening at the table. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the Bard just has a lot going on. So I guess that's fair. We used to think Cleric was simpler to play than Sorcerer or Rogue, but we were wrong. Interesting choices include Domain Invocation that should be cast at the beginning of battle, maintaining balance between healing and fighting, and spells that can be cast for power or broad effect. Jonathan gets tired of playing Cleric because there's so many little decisions to make. Rob loves playing Cleric for the same reason. Fair enough. Rogue is about as complicated as the more complicated versions of the fighter. You track how much bravado you have. Okay. Have and completely disengage and are completely disengage. constantly disengaging and trying to use your sneak attack or rush attack aimed effectively, using Shadow Walk to disappear from most fights for a round simplifies the rogue, though may complicate the lives of the rogue's allies. Fair. Let me double check how we're doing. Okay. Good. Alright, so let's get through this. Okay. And again, yeah, all the classes, this is how 4th edition was as well, but, kind of, like, right. And the name of the attack, spell, power, what have you, some flavor text, keywords, specify targets, stuff about attacks, stuff solving hits, what happens if you miss, we get the effect, any kind of improvements over levels, because some of these things do improve by level, and any feats which could bump up its ability. We'll probably see some in a minute. Or here's some examples. So I think this is the sorcerer spell Lightning Fork. We have a description. Some flavor text. Lightning would rather be cut loose than controlled. It's a ranged spell that you can cast once per arc and is a special chain spell, which, again, okay, chain spell is, here's what that means. It targets one nearby enemy. Attack is d20 plus charisma plus level versus physical defense. On a hit, deals 4d6 lightning damage. On a miss, it's damage equal to your level times 3, and as you increase in level, it does more damage if you choose to keep it around. At 4th level, 2nd, it does 4d8, then 4d10, then 8d6, then 10d6, and on until you finally get up to the last level 8, 9, 10, and it's just doing a flat amount of damage, which is a lot. And of course, you can improve it by taking feats like the adventurer tier. You can take, instead of being restricted to a nearby enemy, you can target far away enemy. And then at champion level, you can. If you cast the spell when the escalation die is 3 or higher, the spell is a recharge of 11 plus, which that's a whole other mechanic. Again, cure wounds, you can kind of see all that. And and here's just the barbarian's basic melee attack. It's a melee attack that you could use at will, meaning anytime. Target an enemy, your bonus to attack is strength plus level versus armor class. On a hit, it deals your weapon plus strength modifier damage. From levels 5 to 7, you multiply your strength modifier by 2. At level 8, you multiply the strength modifier by 4, and then deal an additional 5 points of damage, and then 10 and 15, and on a miss you deal damage equal to your level. And that is one of those mechanics that when I have been running this, I have repeatedly forgotten to do, because a lot of attacks deal miss damage, which is kind of nice. It's a nice little way to say, okay, yeah, you didn't hit, but you still kind of do a little. You're not doing nothing, so that's nice. We have range increment. Let me see. Range attacks against single enemy. Mini range attack. Except targeting rules. Close quarters. Range attacks may look like range attacks, but designed to be used when enemies are on you. They don't draw opportunity attacks. Okay. Common usage patterns at will. Obviously, you can use that as many times as you want. Recharge something plus. Okay, after battle where you use the spell or power, you roll a d20. If the roll is equal or higher than the recharge number, you get that ability back. You can roll expended recharge powers after each battle, even if using the spell or if you use it earlier. Once per battle, obviously you can do regain battle powers after taking a quick rest, sometimes written as once per battle. See, I feel like that's once per arc. You regain per arc powers after taking a full heal up, occasionally referred to as an arc power. Okay. See, I appreciate them kind of clearing some of this stuff up, because I feel like in first edition, it was like, okay, the per battle powers, is that actually per battle, or is that per rest? And I feel like they should really have changed the language here to like per quick rest. But okay. Arc/desperate, one arc power, but also recharges once per arc when you fail a death save or spend your last recovery. Okay. Let me see. All spellcasters choose spells they'll cast in an arc at the beginning of the arc. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, this was another thing. Okay, I do appreciate them switching to arc and specifying a full heal up, because long rests, yeah, this is not the same as getting, like, you know, this was kind of like the way to balance out, you know, you have these really powerful abilities, but you, like, okay, so, yeah. Lightning Fork, yeah, that's a really powerful spell. It deals a lot of damage, even at base level, even at first level, which is apparently, you can take this spell at first level. Well, but but it doesn't just mean, okay, you have to rest for the night and you'll be able to cast it again. It's like, no, that is your big spell. You can't, it's a lot harder to recharge. Getting a recharge it's more cinematic, I guess is the way I would put it. You get the bonuses, it's less mechanical, and I kind of like that. Anyway. More of the rules that I'm generally not going to get into. Because a lot of this stuff gets, okay, I guess one quick thing. This is part of why equipment doesn't really matter, because you're always rolling your level in whatever your weapon die is when you do damage with a weapon. Because customizing things, obviously, okay, so, and finally, after several pages, we're still in the class section. We still haven't really gotten into the classes. Basic starting stats per character, for first level characters, and while these numbers of base HP look a little low, especially because, they look a little low, but trust me, I think like earlier I may have said like you get a lot more, you're not nearly as squishy as all that. But usual base AC, which is, presumably the best suited armor, because some classes get penalties for wearing different types of armor. Or, your base physical and mental defense is what? well, you get how many recoveries do you get, and what is your recovery die. Some classes, like Bard, Cleric, and Ranger, have options that will alter that. But, get into what's up. Okay, so quick look at a class. We'll start with the Barbarian. Okay, here's a general idea of how the Barbarian plays. Here's what ability scores you're going to want to prioritize. You're going to want to prioritize Strength and Constitution. Dexterity or Wisdom would also be good. But, think about that how you want. Suggested background. Let me see. Feel. Some barbarians are straightforward, raging warriors. Others a few touches of magic provided by talents like Adventure Tier Best Beast Aspect or Epic Tier Ancestral Warband. Icons, like, hey, which particular icon might a barbarian have some connections with? This also gets in, kind of syncs up with your kin choice, Here, etc., etc. Barbarians actually work best with light armor, which is interesting. But admittedly, armor only comes in light or heavy. But yeah, there's no special. If you're not wearing any armor, you get to add this to your AC. Or whatever. It's like, no, you're just better in light armor. You can use a shield for shield. That just gives you a flat bonus. That's nice. If you can wear heavy armor, but you take an attack penalty. Melee weapons, fairly straightforward. Pick whichever one you want, whatever type you want. There's no particular penalties. Pick a ranged weapon if you though, apparently penalties for using crossbows. Interesting. Not sure why, but I guess, barbarian. Getting kind of toward the end. Okay, so here's where some of the stuff, where we actually get the level progression and why I said, okay, the hit points maybe not so bad. So at first level for a barbarian, you have 7 plus your con modifier, which, let's be reasonable and say like it's a +3. If you use, the 17, 17, 16 as your ability scores, if you put, you're going to have a +3 to your con modifier. Con modifier, that's going to give you a 10 times 3. So your so you start off with, instead of starting off with 10 hit points, you start off with 30. Not so bad. And your recovery die is a D12 plus your Constitution modifier. So that's a lot. That's pretty solid. Start off adventure. There's feats and so on. And then you get ability score bonuses, etc., etc. Here's a nice handy table summarizing everything else. Here are the ability scores you're going to kind of want to prioritize. What's your initiative? How to calculate your armor, both with and without a shield, and assuming you have light armor. How to calculate your physical defense, your mental defense, calculate your hit points, which goes back to this table, which you very quickly get a lot of hit points. It mostly just changes what do you multiply it by. Recovery dice, backgrounds. Okay, so didn't quite get into this, but you get 8 points for backgrounds, and you can put 5 into any one. You get 3 points for icon relationships. That's standard. These two are standard across all classes. So how many talents you get? How many class talents you get? Anyway. And yeah, okay. We get into here are the basic attacks for the class, and these are going to be might not be standard across all classes, but nah. Same basic setup. You have class features, which are things that everyone in this class gets. Unique class feats. I do think it's interesting that they kind of changed how rage works in this. I think in first edition it was like, okay, I don't remember if it was like you raid, you have to roll. I don't know if you have to roll to start raging, or if it's like, okay, you rage and then at the end you roll to see if you get it back. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a minute since I've looked at that. But so yeah, once per arc you can just start raging for free. Other times you have to kind of roll. I think that's an interesting decision. I do think it makes sense that as an adventurer feat you can improve your rage by getting some bonuses to your defense. New Barbarian Rage feature lets you rage more often. Okay. Your signature feature, we want to give you a chance to rage every battle. The original version was so good, only way to balance it was to prevent you from using it most of the time. Yeah, fair. And then you get talents are just special things that not everybody in your class gets, but that are associated with class. Like, okay, barbaric cleave, which you can attack. Not engaged with that. Once per battle, you make a cleave melee attack as a free action. After one of your melee attacks drops a non-mook enemy, or 3 mooks, or at least 1 mook in a mob, or the last mook in a mob. If not engaged with other enemies when you trigger barbaric cleave, you use a move action for free to engage a nearby enemy and then attack. So hey, cool. Building frenzy. On a miss, you deal extra damage on the next attack that hits, and it builds up over time. That's very cool. Yep. Again. Yeah. And then higher level barbarian options. And, barbarians, not super complicated, but, compare with Bard, where again we have the same stuff, and bards get spells and songs and talents, and it's just, there's a lot. Bards get a lot of stuff, though. Again, bards good in no or light armor, but not so great with shields. Again, not great with two-handed heavy weapons, so you're probably not gonna see a bard swinging a greatsword around. Not great with the really big, with the longbows, heavy crossbow stuff. Do get to decide whether or not they want to use strength or dex for their melee attacks, and okay, that's cute. Again, want to prioritize charisma. Let's see. Dexterity is a melee attack ability. Use D6 recovery dice. Bards who use strength as their melee attack ability get D8. Use D8s. Interesting. Okay. Okay, and bards can select their spells at the beginning of an arc. Okay, yeah, and yeah, okay. And they included a whole bunch of new stuff that's like, okay, here's basing stuff on what musical, what instruments, what type of bardic performance, whatnot do you use, etc. Which is very cool, but also I can see why this is really complicated. And yeah, again, there's just so much. Oh gosh, that looks crazy. Whoa. And okay, now we finally got through the talents, and it's only now that we're getting into the spells and songs. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, woof. Okay. I'm gonna take a quick look at cleric, because clerics are... Okay, again, clerics don't do heavy or martial weapon and so much. Again, technically better in not so really bad actually with heavy armor, at least by default. Though class feature, yeah. If you pick the armor option, you actually can ignore the attack penalty when wearing heavy armor, and your recoveries increase to go up to D8s, and certain melee spells will use strength for attack, so you can kind of do a frontliner cleric if you're so inclined. Number of options. Yeah, get the heal spell, which can be... Let me see. Cast the spell. Use the spell twice per battle. Okay. Different talents. It's get various domains. They give you interesting abilities. Domain. Okay. Invocation and per battle invocation. I think invocation of the. Okay. Yeah. Okay, these are per battle per thing. Alright, spell. Different spells, it's after you can see. Yeah. Yeah, okay, and some of these are definitely bigger and more impressive than other. There's, I think, let me see, is there a... You have arc. Spells of your level. Okay, so what does that mean? Cleric chooses vestments feature instead of armor feature, gains an additional spell, which must be at will. Okay. So, right, you get a certain number of spells that you have to... You get a very small number of... Potentially a very small number of spells that you can prepare, but... yeah, and so I think, yeah, when it's so like, okay, first level spells. These are spells you can prepare at first level. level. When you get up to level 3, you can prepare 3rd level spells, and so on and so forth. And I think this is supposed to be, I assume this is supposed to be artwork of a tiefling, because that, initially I thought it was the Crusader, but again, with the tiefling discussion, you get the idea. And, you know, all the classes go on like this. Yeah, I don't want to go through every single class. I do kind of want to see, oh my gosh, okay. Wizard, is there something special about when wizards, okay, wizards select spells at the beginning of their arc? See, that's interesting to me, because yikes. But yeah, you get the general gist of it. And I've been going for about an hour and a half now. I kind of should be closing up on some things. Sorry, I kind of spent a little bit more time talking at the beginning than I probably should have. Oh well. Anyway, like I said, I think next week, I believe, yeah, next week is, yeah, so next week I will be off LARPing, so no stream then. But the week after, maybe 25th, maybe. I don't know. We're talking talking with the folks over at Dungeon Mayhem Syndicate about maybe running. Gonna try and run through Road to Broadhurst Draw Steel again over there. Depending on how the schedule shakes out, maybe I'll be running stuff there. Maybe I will be streaming that day. Maybe I will not. I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to stream that Saturday. Maybe I will have to skip. Yep, I don't know if I am able to stream that day. I think we'll probably just go through making a character, depending on if Foundry has updated and is working with, if 13th Age is working in Foundry. I might try showing it off. I don't know, because in addition to to the update kind of breaking a bunch of games, I don't think they ever got the 2nd edition module didn't get updated for Foundry version 13, and we're now on version 14. So I don't know. We'll see. Regardless, I will try and be, we'll see what happens. And okay, reminder, Librarian Writer Geek on Twitch and YouTube. Follow, subscribe for all of that. Follow me on Blue Sky. I try to announce when I'm going to stream beforehand. I will try to do that again if I am streaming elsewhere. Head to my website. There's links to all my other stuff, etc., etc. I'm going to once again follow Dungeon Mayhem Syndicate for their stuff, all their stuff over there. There's me streaming Draw Steel with them last week anyway, etc., etc. And other than that, have a good one. Bye.